I'm Rob Sarney, and you're listening to What the Heck FinTech, where you'll experience and learn that FinTech is Fin Life. Let's get started. Okay, welcome everybody. We have a great episode for you today. We have a show here that's really going to emphasize the FinTech is Fin Life mantra that we have for this podcast. And we have Siobhan DeLay, and if you saw her on the street and you went up to her and you say, "Oh, you're that FinTech person," she'll say, I'm not a FinTech person, right? So that's why this is so great. It just shows that FinTech is Fin Life. All areas come into the FinTech. And Siobhan, we've been working together with Mass FinTech Hub, collaborating, doing great FinTech things. And she still doesn't think she's a FinTech person, but she hangs out with a lot of FinTech. And you'll see why when we talk about this, that big into innovation, big into driving startups, big into entrepreneurship, that mindset. And that is what's so, my take, and I bet Siobhan's going to agree, that's a big part of what FinTech is all about. So you're going to hit a whole different angle. She's so deep in what she's doing her whole career. So Siobhan, I mean, you've had such an unbelievable career. As I look back and see what you've done, and I know I'm going to hear things that I never knew you've done too in this conversation. You've always been that innovation track. So I'd love to hear a little player profile, and kind of start where you started and where you are right now, and we'll get a little deeper into that once we get cranking. Sound good?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. It's really nice to be here. Yeah, I think we've been working together for like 5 years now.
Yeah. Well, since Mass FinTech Hub started, I want to say January 2020.
Yeah.
One of the original founders, original people. You were there before I was there, right? Because you were in the mix, and I was just getting pulled in.
Yeah. Well, sure. So my intro or background, I guess, is I spent about 10 years in process improvement, change management, consulting, and then I joined part of a founding team of a marketing technology company called Communispace, and was there, experienced everything, the very high highs and the awful low lows of that all founders experience. About 10 years in, we got purchased by a strategic buyer and a global advertising firm. Then I spent the next 5 years integrating our services with a company in the UK and China and rebranded it to C-Space. But along the way, I started to lose my startup mojo. So I was mentoring for Mass Challenge, which is a global startup accelerator. And what I ended up doing is joining Mass Challenge after I left C-Space as the chief operating officer, and then took over from the founding CEO as CEO.
Wow.
It was a blast. And that's the first time I really knew what an innovation ecosystem was. Before that, I had the founder point of view only, and I got hooked, loved it. And you said I'm not FinTech, which I always say. I guess I'm FinTech adjacent. Yeah. So as learning about the innovation ecosystems, I learned about this thing called public-private partnerships. So I was part of the founding team with you for Mass FinTech Hub, trying to make Massachusetts the #1 place for financial technology.
Yep. Wow. And now you're at BU.
I am. So I have spent time around all the areas of the ecosystem except government so far. So yes, this is my time in academia at Boston University, heading up the student-facing innovation and entrepreneurship center.
Wow. So, I mean, we're going to have an announcement. Are you going to run for president? Next time coming up?
Absolutely.
Big announcement, everybody. Here we go.
And never. They say never, but I can say never about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a job I don't want anything to do with.
Nope.
Wow. So how about, I'd love to ask some questions here now. So now, how did, even before that, where did you go to school, and So you jumped right into consulting right after school, it sounds like. So yeah, tell me a little bit about that, because that's, that's a different breed, consulting, and I've actually stayed away from it, even though I think I consult every day, but I don't know if I could pull it off as a real job for me.
Yeah. So I started as an administrative assistant. So I went to undergrad, Boston University,
Oh,
um, political science and business minor. And I just wanted a job. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I got a job as an administrative assistant at the Forum Corporation, which was again, change management, process improvement, leadership training, customer service. I was a project manager. I was there for 10 years. So I worked in their resourcing department. I would raise my hand to go anywhere and do anything. So I think that's really what helped me sort of grow up professionally is they needed someone to go to Atlanta and do editing for materials using Microsoft Styles. And I raised my hand and said, I can do it. And I didn't know Microsoft Styles. I spent the weekend at the library learning it, and I went to Atlanta for 6 weeks. So that 10 years, I just kept saying yes to everything and got a ton of experience across a bunch of industries and actually worked a lot with financial services during that time.
yeah, yeah. Wow. And then what were your majors again?
Political science major and a business minor.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know. I started off engineering. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
yeah, no one does, right? I thought I was going to be an accountant,
Yeah.
but I did it for about a month,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm not pretty good at this. So maybe I gotta do something else. Wow. So, I mean, it just shows your growth and learning and the building blocks that you had, growing up. Now, where'd you grow up? Did you grow up in Massachusetts? Where'd you
Yeah,
grow up?
Roslindale. Rosie rules. Yeah.
North Shore guy. So, I'm a Swampscott guy all the way.
I only know north of the city is New Hampshire and Canada. That's all I know. Yeah.
That's the way it is in Massachusetts. Like
Yeah.
like like I live in Shrewsbury right now, and when I lived in North Shore and Swampscott on the North Shore, anything past Framingham was New York. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
But now that's where I live, right next to Worcester right now. So 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 I'd love to hear more about your experience in that learning curve and what you saw at Mass Challenge, because they're in multiple countries. They have, they do a fintech cohort, right? But they do
Right.
way more than that too. What did you learn, and what have you taken along with the ride with you as kept progressing in your career? Like what were some of the aha moments of that?
Yeah, yeah. So I learned so much at Mass Challenge. I think I didn't know the whole symbiotic relationship between startups and industry and government policy and academia. I just didn't know, and capital providers. I didn't know all those connections. I only knew it from the point of view of founder data point of one,
Yeah.
and I was an operator too. So while I touched the funding stuff, didn't lead that. So I learned a ton about the whole system and how breakdown in one part of the system can hurt the other. So um, around the world, the innovation ecosystems I worked in were really different, right? So um, in Jerusalem, that one is government led, really. So
Mhm.
the Jerusalem Development Authority started most of Mass Challenge's work there. And the entrepreneurs around the world are all, passionate problem solvers. But, the Israelis have this culture of boldness that sometimes
Mhm.
I wish some American founders would get, like that boundaryless sort of boldness. And in Mexico, that was more nonprofit led, believe it or
Mhm.
not, economic development led. And those entrepreneurs, well, passionate problem solvers like everyone, they have this grit that, all entrepreneurs have grit, but the Latin American entrepreneurs that I interacted with were just resilient beyond anything.
Wow.
So, it's very different. And in Switzerland, the innovation ecosystem is really industry led. Corporations lead a lot there.
Wow. Wow. And I bet you see that even in the United States. It depends on where in the United States and what type of startup it is and what area it is, because what are some of the other areas that I mean, fintech was one, but there's a bunch of others
Oh, health.
that you were involved in too.
Yeah, life sciences and digital health,
Yep.
consumer goods, B2B, like big in Northeast US, of course,
Yep.
but sustainability, climate tech, it was across industries. So we saw a little bit of everything, but we definitely had some deep dives in certain areas.
Wow. And what did you learn? Because not only did you learn it, but you executed and had teams executing this. How do you get these startups like knowledgeable, connected, and ready to run through walls? I mean, you have a whole process in place. I'd love to hear a little behind the curtain there. How did you do that? Because that's a learning curve, and then you're training others to do the learning curve, and then you have people doing it. Like
Yeah.
what, crazy.
Well, so all accelerators, right? Uh, you find and make great startups. So it's not like incubation is,
Mm,
figuring out, what's the problem you're going to solve and sort of grow it like you grow the eggs in an incubator. But
yeah.
accelerators already start with something good. So some of it is about the application and
Mm,
choosing process. And what Mass Challenge does, which is pretty cool, is has the ecosystem decide. So they have thousands of entrepreneurs who do written round judging of all the applications, and they choose the ones sort of best match for that. And there's several rounds and all that. So some of it is about choosing the ones that match the accelerator the best.
yeah.
And the other, this is where when you said, how do you do it, is matching the programming to the cohort. So giving them the resources they need. So an accelerator, especially something that is as large as Mass Challenge, is it has to be a buffet. It's not totally curated. You're not like told what to do AM, PM overnight. It's here are all your resources. Take advantage of them or don't. If you don't, you won't get the results. But if you do, it could change the trajectory of your business.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, because it doesn't matter what industry it is, that innovative thinking, that how to go after it, that process. I mean, everyone can do it their own way in a little different way, but there's some fundamentals you have to hit. And I've been seeing that and learning that just from being on the academic side and working with entrepreneurship professors and things like that. Now, on the BU side, what did you take that you learned from Mass Challenge and bring it to BU, back to your homeland, right?
Yeah,
Back
yeah, I
when you
know.
went to school, and what was that like too? Because you get different age groups, different maturity levels, different just knowledge because they're going to school for a reason, right? They want to learn, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear that take too. And what, what, what did you bring there that you learned from Mass Challenge, but also vice versa? What are you adding to your toolkit now because of what you're seeing at BU? Because I'm seeing,
Yeah.
seeing so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, sure, sure. So one thing that I really learned and valued at Mass Challenge that I don't think I did enough of when I was an entrepreneur was networking. I met so many people around the world that had some of them had very slices of expertise and some were, knew a little bit about everything. And I met these wonderful people. And I brought a lot of that to BU, meaning
Mm,
connecting, this student is creating customized footwear, and I happen to know people who are designers for Converse or other footwear companies and connecting them. So I really ramped up my network at Mass Challenge, and I bring that here. The other is perspective of knowing, seeing a lot of failures and a lot of successes and bringing those lessons. So what's different and what I'm learning at BU is working with students. Our mission is about building innovation skills and an entrepreneurial mindset. So
mm,
it's a little different stakes than Mass Challenge or a startup accelerator or being a founder yourself.
yep.
No one's house is mortgaged to have them start a student found. So the stakes are a little lower.
Yep.
Um, and we want to build those skills. So when I went to BU, my job didn't exist. And these students, they're going into maybe professions that don't exist today, or definitely jobs, or going to work with technology that doesn't exist. So the hypothesis is that these innovation skills and an entrepreneurial mindset will help them handle that change
Yeah.
and be able to adapt with that. So that's one of the main reasons I joined this job, because of that mission. I love that. And the other is I'm learning how to do that in a very different way with students. It's about some of those fundamentals you talked about that will help make them better professionals in any way, but definitely better entrepreneurs. The fundamentals are you tackling a validated problem, a problem worth solving? And validate it with real people information, not just like, I had this problem once or twice, or all my friends think this. You have to get more. And once you validate that problem, make sure the solution you create actually solves that problem. There's so many entrepreneurs that, talk about a problem that is not worth solving, or they say this is the solution, and those don't meet at all.
Yeah.
So that fundamental part, and helping them fail when there's a safety net in place, is great, because they don't get as many bruises. Their ego is more bruised than their pocketbook, and they can try again. So sometimes there are third-time founders who are undergrad, and how much more experienced and better employees or founders or contributors to the world will they be after having that experience? So that's what I do, and you can tell I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can feel it. Yeah, that's wow. I'm going to go a little deeper now. So when
Sure.
you see these, and it might be a correlation here with the same attributes, but I could be wrong. I don't know. For what you see from at BU, right? So, the students thinking about their idea. When can you tell, like, that person's they independent of the topic, they have it. Yeah, they're gonna make this work no matter what comes against them, and it, right? And do you see that same kind of trait, once they're professionals at the, when they're starting to go for seed rounds and all that greatness, what you saw in the Mass Challenge area? Is there, what are the attributes you see in these founders that actually have nothing to do with their product? Like
Yeah.
what are some of that secret sauce you actually can tell? Because you've seen so many and so different ages and different stages. Like, I bet you can see it from, 100 feet away, how the person walks through the halls. Oh yeah,
It,
they're ready.
so I'll say, I'm going to talk out both sides of my mouth now. So
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah. Go
is
ahead.
an element of the X factor that you see right away and you say, oh my gosh, and that transcends student versus later. I also deeply believe that a lot of this stuff can be learned, not in a classroom necessarily, but maybe in a classroom combination of experience. So you can learn some of those X factor stuff. So I don't believe you just have it or you don't. But when I see it, and whether it's a student or something else, it takes the form of passion, um, a deep, even if they don't know anything, I want to say deep understanding, but that's not quite the word, like a deep commitment to learn more and stick with it, and not the sort of lawyer argument of like, this, and this is why it happens. It's more like, this is happening and I want to. So that passion comes out. It doesn't always have to be emotional passion, but it can be conviction passion, that as well as that coachability or listening. So what I think gets in the way of a lot of founders is, one, focus. They're trying to do everything. Or two, the inability to move off your initial assumptions or beliefs when you get evidence to refute it. And that comes out in lack of coachability, lack of listening, lack of insight. So people who display the opposite are the people I say they're going to be, I don't know if this is the one that they're going to be successful at, but it's one of these. They'll probably be successful at whatever they do.
Yeah.
But some of those people, I'm like, they're a natural born founder, whether they do that for their own venture, someone else's venture, or for corporations. They are going to build new stuff.
Right. And that entrepreneurial mindset, whether you're scooping ice cream or CEO of Fidelity Investments, right? I mean, you have to have that. Otherwise, you're not going to drive change and excitement and innovation, right?
So one of the things that I was thinking about before this conversation is that, am I fintech? Am I not fintech? So I mentioned when I was a consultant, I worked with a lot of financial services companies like Ameriprise, TIAA, when they were TIAA Craft. And I actually worked with Barclays. And a lot of the work we did was customer insight based. And it was about changing things. So it was about innovation with the foundation of customer insight. So I worked with Barclays when they created iShares before BlackRock bought them. And we were helping them connect with registered RIAs, registered investment advisors, to understand their point of view on ETFs. So like that work was fintech because it was new technology. And it was based on insights of the stakeholders that use so I guess I have been doing fintech for years and years and years, but it's the labels, that I say, oh no, I'm not doing fintech. But I have been working with financial services. It was just seemed to be more traditional then, but it was all about innovation, just different technology.
Please come back to part 2 with Siobhan DeLay as we talk about the concept of FinTech is FinLife, the importance of financial literacy, and how women empowerment and diversity is critical for innovation and entrepreneurship. Thank you for listening to What the Heck, FinTech. Make sure you tune in to our next episode as we continue to interview FinTech leaders and share real-world stories from across the FinTech ecosystem so you can fully understand that FinTech is FinLife.